Welcome to the last lesson, 14.1, graphing trig functions. So we're going to find amplitude and periods of a trig function. First thing is a period. So the period of a periodic function is the interval between two matching points on the graph. What I mean by that is how often it restarts. Okay. Amplitude is the distance between the center line of the function and the top or bottom of the function. In other words, the height from x-axis. So let's see this in our first one, the sine graph. So y equals sine of theta. This is what they look like. These are the exact same graphs. The only difference is that we changed the period. So the first one has a period of 2 pi. After 2 pi, it starts over and creates another curve, exactly the same way. As well on the left side, it creates the exact same curve. It just keeps going and keeps going, but one period is 2 pi. That's in radian mode. The bottom one is in degree mode, so it's 360 pi. It's a full circle. It then starts over after 360 doing the exact same pattern. So again, the amplitude here is 1. It goes up 1, it goes down 1, but it's 1 away from the x-axis. The period is 2 pi for the top one, 360 for the bottom one. Now the period's not always going to be the same here, but if it is just the y equals sine theta, it will be these exact periods and amplitudes. But we'll show you how it changes later. The cosine does kind of the same thing. It has a curve. The amplitude is 1 still. The period is 2 pi and 360 degrees still. The difference between sine and cosine is in how it starts. So cosine and sine are actually the exact same graph, shifted a little bit. It started at the top of the curve instead of the bottom or the middle of the curve. But the amplitude and period is the same here. The tangent graph is a little bit different. So the tangent on radian mode, notice that it goes from pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2. The period is 1 pi. On the angles, it goes from 45 to 225. It's 180 degrees. The amplitude is none because notice it goes down all the way and it goes up all the way forever. So it will never end, so there is no amplitude. Again, the period is 1 pi, the period is 180 pi. So what happens if we change these graphs? So the formula is y equals a sine bx and y equals a cosine bx, same with y equals a tangent bx. Now I separated tan because it has a different formula to it. But sine and cosine have the same formula. First off, a stands for amplitude. So whatever the number in front of sine is, or cosine, it is just the amplitude. The period is 2 pi if you're in radian mode, 360 if you're in degree mode. You divide by b, the coefficient of x. Okay, for tangent, there just is no amplitude, always. And then the period is 1 pi divided by b, or 180 divided by b. Alright, let's see this done. So y equals 4 sine of theta divided by 3. That's really 1/3 theta. Keep that in mind, it is a fraction. First thing we're going to do is we're going to graph it. Now, you are given the range, the window that you are graphing in, so make sure your calculator is in that correct range. You're actually just going to type in 4 sine theta over 3. If it's in radian mode, make sure your calculator's in radian mode. If it's in degree mode, make sure your calculator's in degree mode. And again, make sure you change the window so it matches what you're graphing it in. So you just type that in your calculator, graph it, and it looks like this. So here our window, the y maximum was 6, the y minimum was 6, and then the x was 0 to 1440 or 1800. You could have just typed that in and you get this graph. So the amplitude is a, it's the number in front of sine, so the amplitude's 4. Then the period is 2 pi divided by 1/3. Or sorry, 360 divided by 1/3, because this was degrees. So it's 360 divided by 1/3. That's the same as saying 360 times 3, so the period is 1080 degrees. Last example here is 3 tan 2 theta. So we're going to graph this. This is in radian mode this time. So our window would have been -6 to 6 for the y, and then from 0 to 2 pi for the x value. So we graph it. There is no amplitude for tans. And the period for tangent was pi divided by. So this is pi divided by 2. That's it, just pi over 2. That is amplitude and period. Good luck on the practice.